Continuing on with wall articulation. So we've got open wall articulation from chapter 13 from the Wiley Publishing site. We've got two walls, or a wall segment here. And it's a exterior brick on metal stud. And we'll be using this one to start off. And we're going to create a new wall type based on this wall. This layered wall structure. So we have the first floor plan activated. We got both wall segments selected. And we're going to click Edit Type. And we're going to duplicate. And we're going to call the new one Mastering Wall Exercises. Or that's Mastering Wall Exercise. Did I spell that right? I don't think I spelled it right. No, there's only one C. I always do that. Must be the carcinogens in the cigarette. Accept the settings of this new one. Well, let's assume you need to create a panel region, a partial region, of the finished face where the material is different but is of the same thickness. For example, you might want to use a split face concrete block at the base of the wall instead of brick. Activate the default 3D view and select one segment of the wall in the view. From the Properties palette, click Edit Type, and in the Type Properties dialog box, click the Edit button in the Structural field to open the Edit Assembly dialog box. We don't have to do it from 3D. Let's do it from here. Make sure the preview pane is open and the view is set to section. In the upper right-hand corner of the Edit Assembly dialog box, change the sample height to 6 feet. Use either the steering wheels at the lower left of the dialog box, also located in the upper right corner of the preview pane, or your mouse wheel to zoom into the shortest segment of the wall in the preview pane. It takes a certain level of multitasking to read, comprehend, convey, demonstrate, turn, read, comprehend, convey. Don't think for a second that having to articulate it while you provide this educational assessment bidirectionally, that there in and of itself is articulating. So we have it at 6 foot. We have it zoomed in. Click the Split Regions tool, the Split Region button, under the Modify Vertical Structure, and move your mouse pointer along the inside face of the brick layer to a point 4 foot or 1,200 millimeters above the bottom of the sample. Make sure you have the exterior of the brick veneer or brick layer selected, or you're gonna cut something else. Whoops. And this is very sensitive when you're in the section preview pane. And you know it's cut, you see a little blue line. When you split the layer, the thickness value of the layer indicates it is variable. When you split the layer. Now, again, this is still one layer, right? One layer. Brick common with a variable thickness that we can't change right now. Can't change it. Not yet. Now, select row 2, thermal air lead thread, material air of the 3 foot thickness, it's highlighted. And then click the Insert button to add another row immediately below the first exterior layer. Now notice, it moved down to 3. An interior side insert. As we selected 2, it created a new layer. change its function to finish 1. Notice its cut hierarchy number of 4. Same as the function above it. And it's material to concrete masonry units. Oops. Concrete masonry units. To open the materials browser, select the material assignment under the material column. We did that. Using the graphics tab, set the cut pattern to masonry concrete block. Right now it's diagonal crosshatch. Masonry concrete block. Type the first couple characters, it'll come up. Then click OK to close the material browser dialog box. And there's the layer 2. 0 thickness. Just hold that thought. Click the Assign Layers button. Select a new row you created in the previous step, and then click inside the lower portion of the split region in the section preview. So we created this one, and we come down here and we click to the inside portion. You'll notice the cross-hatching changed on it. When the layer is properly assigned to the split region, you will see the fill pattern change to diagonal crosshatch. Click OK to close all open dialog boxes and save your project for additional exercises in this chapter. So we'll just leave it open. After you assign a material row to a split layer, you will notice that the thickness value of the 2 layers are linked, but you can't change them in the table. Well, let's not close it yet then. They're linked. You see how they're grayed out? You can't change them in the table. To change the thick, I just lost my bookshelf, my little book stand, if you will. Give me a moment. Oops, nope, not at the right angle. There we go. You'll notice that, yeah, you can't change it in the table. To change the thickness of a split wall layer, click the Modify button and select one of the faces in the section preview. The faces. Now there's 2 faces here. Speaking of facades, on a sociology level, lots of two-faced people in this world. So many. How many faces? Let's not call them walls. Let's call them faces. All right, so select one of the faces in the section preview. Edit the temporary dimensions in the section preview to change the thickness of the layer. So, one of the faces in the section preview doesn't tell us which one. So we could just pick the lower one here. Okay, so now edit the temporary dimensions in the section preview to change the thickness of the layer. As you can see in the section preview, it's 3 5/8. So we can make this 12 inches. But notice how they're still tied together. You may also notice that once a layer is split and an additional layer is assigned to the split portion, the resulting portions can only be the same thickness. In the previous exercise, you split a brick masonry layer to create a region of concrete masonry units. Although this may achieve the desired graphic result in an elevation view, does it accurately represent the construction of the wall if the CMU is intended to be thicker than the brick masonry? To create a similar result with a vertical layer of varying thickness, you will need to create a stacked wall. We will discuss this later in the section, creating stacked walls. If you encounter a situation where you need to merge horizontal layers that already exist in a wall type, use the Merge Regions button and select a line in the intersection preview between the 2 layers. Once the mouse pointer is over a line between 2 layers, an arrow indicating which layer will override the other appears. So if we go to Merge Regions, oops, we want to merge these back, oops, Merge Regions, you'll notice a little minus symbol. I'm sorry, yeah, a little symbol, and there's an arrow pointing. And if you kind of hover around, it will jump. It's now pointing up. border between layer 1 and layer 2. After merge, assign layer 2. So it's pointing up. So I'm going to point down. Layer 2 is the concrete masonry units, right? Layer 2. So now I know it's pointing down. If I hover, I may get a tooltip. If not, you select. And then you'll merge them back to the way that they were. Adding sweeps and reveals. Let's just hold this, hidden reveal, if you will, for a few moments. I'm cooking, and I'm going to burn the midnight oil tonight, because we need to take advantage of this opportunity. How often, again, we're talking not since the early 1900s have we experienced something like this. What's the word I'm looking for? It's epic. Epic. When else do you get an opportunity to really slow down and do what you want? Do what you want. I'm telling you, this it's worth the trip. It's worth the trip. Again, everyone needs a hobby. Hobby. So adding sweeps and reveals are coming up later. You gotta give it a thickness of the membrane. Well, we have to give this 0 thickness in layer 4. 0 thickness layer must have membrane layer. Function or be deleted. Row 2. Here's layer 2. Must have a membrane layer. So, if indeed that's the case, then we should put water seal, and we should put a vapor barrier so that we don't experience ethyl fluorescence and have to dig a French drain. So go to layer 2, insert a layer, give it a membrane layer, thickness, function, material, vapor retarder, accept it. Let's give it a thickness of 2.54 centimeters. That would be an inch. 1 would be a half an inch. Let's give it a 6.0125. Requires 0 thickness. Layer 3, 0 thickness layer must have membrane layer function. Well, what's row 3? The inside it's this, let's see here, 2. Let's take a look at this. Okay, 1. There's the membrane layer, vapor retarder. Concrete masonry units are gone, so we can delete this layer. Membrane layer function requires 0 thickness. Oh, now it does. I'm not going to argue with it. It's a system. It's a wall system. It's a wall system. Again, it has metadata in there to prohibit. Okay, so we get sweeps. We got sweeps this week. And reveals. All sorts of reveals. Things you may not have known, right? This week on this week of sweeps that we're running here, there's some things that you may not have known. I reiterate, persistence of tools, I say. Persistence of tools.